So I'm heading for the mountains again. It's only been a few days. You can see the big smile on my face. Unfortunately, this one is for a serious cause. I'm going to have a sleep test. And so I have to take that sleep test at altitude. And that meaning I have to be up there around 9,000 feet for them to get the results that they want to get. So I've got to go back to the mountains, and there's some complications, so hang with me, I'll explain all that.
So I'm trying to get out of Denver and into them there hills. You can barely see those hills above the bus. But there's a snowstorm coming in, so I have to really make tracks. I-70 becomes treacherous when it first snows, because the snow tends to melt, and then it all turns to ice. And then what do? Well, you go slipping and sliding, and in the mountains, that's something I just don't want to do. So let's see whether I'm going to make it or not. It looks like a nice day so far.
I didn't expect all this construction traffic this early in the morning. It's only about 8 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't think that they would jam up their streets. But I should have known. This is Denver, Colorado, and it seems to be their nature to really jam you up. So the question is, will I make it? Will I get to the mountains before the snow starts flying?
That's where I'm heading, way up there. And believe me, the climate is very different when you get up that high.
So here we are at another big jam up, and I am concerned about time. I'm not worried about getting into the foothills. I know I'm going to do that. What I'm worried about is getting into the higher mountains, around 11,000 to 12,000 feet. That's where you are going to most likely hit the snow. Above a town called Georgetown. It's an old mining town.
So we finally made the foothills. That didn't take too much. Weather looks great. Maybe we won't hit any snow. Or maybe we're just racing the schedule. We'll see. Well, this van coming up is a Winnebago Travato. Winnebago Travatos are basically a tiny motorhome in a van body. To give you an idea of value, Sasnak, who is an RVer, just bought a Prevost bus that was converted into a motorhome. Well, Prevost is the Rolls-Royce of buses. You could buy Sasnak's bus for about the same price you'd pay for a Travato. So, of course, the Travato is brand new, and it has some benefits the Prevost doesn't have. Like, it would be great for boondocking. You can put it in a parking spot anywhere, and you sure can't do that with a Prevost bus. But the Prevost, well, it's got everything. A shower, a toilet, a kitchen, in-floor heat. Well, the Travato has a lot of those things too. But between the two, I'd rather have a Prevost bus. We are right on the edge of a cloud. Right now we're in full sun, but if you look in the horizon, you can see that we'll be driving right up into a cloud. And in that cloud, well, there's bound to be moisture, probably in the form of snow.
Slamming on their brakes or something, probably more road work. And you'll see the sign coming up, Winter Storm Forecast. Good traction necessary. And they mean it. If you block a vehicle, if you spin out, block a vehicle, it's a $600 fine. I don't think that stops anybody. They all just keep going.
So we're coming up to Georgetown, which is an old mining town with a lot of history. In Georgetown, you'll find Hotel du Paris. And if you want to get some insight into what the old pioneers were like, we'll read the history of Hotel du Paris. This is also the base of Guanella Pass. So if you have a four-wheel drive and it's summer, you can take that up over the hills, past the mines, down to 285. But we're not going to try and do that today. First of all, the road is probably closed. But second of all, we don't have four-wheel drive. Now from here on up, things just get tough. It's the stretch right above Georgetown that is, I think, the steepest on I-70. So when it snows, boy, does it get slick. They had a wreck side here. It closed the highway for 2 days in both directions. The Rocky Mountains are not very stable. The Georgetown Railroad starts here. It's just a sliver of history left of the railroad era, but sure is a lot of fun to take that train the few miles up and down the track to Silver Plume. I don't know if you noticed, but we're starting to lose the sun. We're climbing into that cloud, and really soon, we're going to have snow. The sign says there's a height restriction going through the Eisenhower tunnel. So if you don't fit, or if you're carrying hazardous materials, you have to go over Loveland Pass. Loveland Pass is the old road, full of hairpin curves, a windy 2-lane road with drop-offs into the abyss. No one wants to take Loveland Pass if they don't have to, except for the tourists in the summer. You can see how we are, by every second, gaining altitude. We came from 5,280 feet. Now we're probably about 9,000 feet. In just a few minutes, we'll be at 11,500 feet. We'll be in the Eisenhower Tunnel. It may be a little hard to see in the video, but if you were driving this road, you could tell that it's becoming wet. That's because the snow is falling on a warm surface, and it's melting. And it'll continue to melt, and then will come more snow. And with more snow will come ice. Snow over ice. This road will be treacherous by midnight. And now, it's starting to snow. If you remember, just a little while ago, we had beautiful sunlight. But now, we're in a cloud, and it's snowing. And I've got the greatest respect for this road when it's snowing, when it's wet, when it's ready to turn into ice. That's when I really respect this road. Finally, we come to the tunnel. We've passed the ski areas. We've been driving in snow now for at least 35 minutes. And finally, we've come to those big Rocky Mountains that divide this great nation. The tunnel's so narrow that the pavement has grooves in it, so you have to be really careful, especially when there's ice in the tunnel, that you don't get thrown by one of the grooves.
Sometimes you have snow on one side of the tunnel and sunshine on the other. Today, we have snow on both sides of the tunnel. In fact, the western slope, I'd say, is getting a little heavier snow than the eastern. My medical test isn't until tomorrow, but tomorrow I know this highway is going to be under at least an inch of snow, and I didn't want to drive up during those kinds of conditions and maybe not be able to make it. There is a bus you can take, and it's fairly reliable. They have four-wheel drive vehicles, and I could have taken that, but it's about $40 or $50 each way, so I would have been paying $80. Of course, I probably will pay $30 as it is, so maybe that was a way to go, but I didn't do that. And then you got to drive out to the airport to catch that bus, and I didn't want to do that. So I made it alive. We went from beautiful, sunny Denver, Colorado to snowy Silverthorne, Colorado. We did it without having an accident, and that's more than I can say for last year, when I had a pretty serious accident on this road. I was a passenger, and I can say if it hadn't been for a cement retaining wall, well, I wouldn't be talking to you today. All's well that ends well. Take a look at this spectacular scenery from Silverthorne, Colorado. Well, thank you for joining me on a trip up I-70 into snow country, into God's country. I'd love to know what you think. Leave your comments below. I read every single one of them, and I respond to almost every one too. Be sure to subscribe, and I'm getting to the bottom of the hill. I made it so far. No problems. No one's hit me so far. Haven't hit any black ice. I think I did this one good. So we'll see you soon. This is Tim Paynter for the Van Life. Bye-bye.